Oh, now it says Jieshi. Wow, thanks, production.
Bait and switch.
Production just sent me a crying face. Anyway, in the bottom left, in the blue, from Good Game Gaming, this is Cyan.
And his opponent over in the top right in the red, the one who picked this map, it's Jieshi.
Heck yeah. So he's picked Beckett. What is the plan here? Now, we've seen Beckett PvP before over in the Taiwanese region in previous seasons. It involved a proxy Tempest Rush. It was actually a Void Ray Rush in the middle of the map that turned into a Tempest Rush. It was wild. And then there was a Cannon Rush behind it. This game, though, nothing to be concerned about as far as cannons are concerned. They're both actually opening very normally. Just conservatively, even. I think if you 1-gate expand on this map, you're asking for trouble. So they're just going to go for the 2-gate, grabbing their gases and just bleeding. You notice that they also don't have full saturation in these simulators. This is a very normal build that can just go into macro.
Yeah, it can, but will it? Is the question, I think.
Yeah,
like, why
question.
would you ever pick Beckett if you weren't going to meme a little? And like, Cyan will be aware of that, unless it's like a huge mind game, right? You pick the map that everyone like cheeses or 2 bases or something off of, and then you play normal. But yeah, I'm just kind of sitting here like, all right, I'm gonna wait and see. I'm gonna wait and see what he jobs. You can see Cyan being very thorough. Obviously, he's checking those pylons and just trying to see what the next step is, because aside from the early game skirmish that may occur with the initial units, you want to see what the plan is. Like, is he actually going to just expand? Is he going to drop some tech behind this? Is he going to push with a whole bunch of units? Kind of need to know.
Well, the low ground pylon is showing signs that they do want to expand, but you know, there's been more often, there's been more than one PvP where they put the low ground pylon down, but they've actually gone for the attack. Neither player has dropped a aggressive pylon, or I guess a proxy pylon here, which is usually, okay, excuse me, Cyan is the first one to drop that down in the natural just to block the expansion potential of Jieshi. But that's okay for Jieshi, you know, you can just get another round of Stalkers out, it's fine. Both players actually just getting 2x2 Stalkers here, no sentries just yet. The sentry is the big sign that they want to expand. Stalkers, you know, it could, if you're just making Stalkers, especially if your natural's been slowed down long enough, you could just go into, you know, a 3rd gateway and start getting a little bit wild, but we are going to see an expansion here by the looks of things. Cyan's got the 400 minerals, down it goes, and there's Jieshi's just a second later.
Yeah, not too surprised to see that. Like, you can, I feel like a lot of people reel it in on this map nonetheless. Like, yes, you could just go ham and cannon rush, but an extension is not too out of the ordinary. Gonna have this short engagement with the Stalkers in the beginning here, using that speed zone.
Yeah.
Not really working out for him.
Nah, even with the support of the speed zone, Jieshi actually kind of loses the scuffle in a weird way. It's a bit of an even tray in the end. See that Cyan's trying to circumnavigate these 2 hunting Stalkers of Jieshi, which do have a bit more hit points. There's the sentries coming down for Cyan, so he's pretty safe back at home. He's dropped a pylon right next to the main base of Jieshi. So that could potentially be used for adept warp-ins. That's very, very common strategy in PvP. Warp in a couple of adepts, shade into the natural, try it for the main base, try and get some probes. Forge coming down as well for Cyan, so it looks like he wants to get his upgrades up pretty quickly here. +1 attack.
Yeah, definitely could be a nice little edge if Jieshi still has a plan to be a bit more aggressive, but we'll see what comes down here as those finish up. Is it going to be blink for both these players? I would assume so.
I would assume so as well. If Cyan went into charge or something like that, it would be a little mind-blowing. Yep, blink starts up there. You know, one of the great / not great things about PvP, depending on who you are, is that it's really easy to scout your opponent. And this is the power of the sentry. This is why you get the sentry up, is for ultimate information. You can fly that hallucinated phoenix over pretty much everything. It's extremely hard to deny information at the beginning of the game, all the way back to the first scouting probe. Like, you can't block the first scouting worker in PvP. It's just going to happen. You have to allow it. The only thing you can do is maybe feed it misinformation by putting your 3rd pylon out in the map somewhere. But otherwise, you just have to take it that you're going to get scouted. Ooh, extra gateways going down here for Jieshi. Going up to 4 with the robo.
Yeah, so what that scouting information does give him is that, okay, well, there's a forge there. When he first looked, it wasn't actually upgrading, but you can gather, all right, well, he's going to get attack on that, and it's a, you know, blink +1 kind of deal. So it puts a timer in his head of when he actually needs to be wary of that hitting him, because there's going to be quite a big window where Cyan's going to have the better upgrades. And because Jieshi isn't actually going for any upgrades himself, you know, that's going to remain a factor. So getting the robo makes sense. You can add some beef to your army. Oh, nice. He actually finds that pylon.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's a nice catch there, of course. Also going for the third Nexus here. So the small differences are starting to spread out for the players. It's an extremely similar game for both players build order-wise. And now they are starting to spread out a little bit differently in different branches of the tech tree here. So while they're doing similar things, Cyan has a much bigger head start on +1 attack. Jieshi has the quicker third Nexus by a fair margin. And you know, a heftier pro count. So in that regard, the economy of the Red Protoss looking a little bit more robust, and Cyan having a bit more of a powerful army for now.
Yeah, I think I quite like what Cyan's done there. He's going to have the +1, and he's going to have Immortal, like maybe one Immortal advantage if he does actually push with the Immortals that he has. Just because Jieshi started his just a little bit later as he's been investing in that third. So I wonder if Cyan will actually push, because he's already going for the +2 attack, so maybe he just wants to chill and wait for that. Whereas, you know, because if he pushes and Jieshi holds here, then he's in a phenomenal position, just having that little bit of extra time with the triple probe production, getting that third base activated.
Do you know what I did not expect here for Becker Industries F? For both players to be completely calm, regular macro boys. Did not expect that. Well,
I know, right?
Someone was going to meme. That's what I thought was going to happen.
I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it's just
Yeah.
nope, completely normal PvP for these guys. And this is on brand for the last time that they played. It was a very straight up thing. Like the wildest thing we saw was DTs, but it wasn't like the world's fastest DTs or anything.
No, it's like, you know, DTs is a normal thing. It's part of the parcel in PvP. You get it eventually. I mean, there aren't many matchups where you don't get a Dark Shrine eventually in Protoss. Good catch from the Adepts. Looks like they're going to get one. No probe damage. Actually, a very good defense there from Cyan. Well done.
Now, Jieshi does have some units fairly close to this third base of Cyan, but it looks like he's not really keen on committing. Maybe just testing the waters there as he continues to upgrade here. Getting close to his own +1 finishing. But again, Cyan's still going to have that upgrade advantage with +2 finishing at a similar time. However, Jieshi is going to look at developing that tech a little further.
Yep, going into tier 3 Robo here, which is absolutely fantastic. Have to assume that that's going to go directly into Disruptor production here. Cyan is going to go across the map. We see the Prism coming out, and you don't do that for aesthetic reasons. That is to attack. So it is on the way, as is +2. Seems like a really good timing for Cyan to try and flex his muscles a little bit and see what he can get done.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of has to go eventually, right?
Bit of a pause here. We sometimes in the Chinese region have some lag spikes, as we do have, you know, we mentioned how far across the world we are, and the ping can be quite bad. There's probably a bit of lag for the players.
Yeah, we'll give him a quick sec and hopefully he can...
It usually evens out. This happens every season, I think.
Yeah.
It usually evens out. Like, we'll have a little bit of jitter, a couple pauses, but bear with us, guys. This is also not a very, you know, Zeph mentioned at the start, but if you're just joining us, first of all, hello. Second of all, our broadcast is really quite small compared to, like, you know, the monster stream that is the Europe, North America broadcast, which comes later. We only have 3 best of 3s. Whereas you know, I remember going to bed when Europe started, and when I woke up and had my coffee and was about to start my stream, NA was still going. Like, it was I think a 9-hour and a bit broadcast.
That's rough, man.
Oh boy.
Oof.
Damn. Lots of stalkers here for Jieshi. Cyan trying to fight for this little bit of a choke point here. Force field's going down on both sides. Prism here to reinforce for Cyan, and as the Immortals get closer, Jieshi actually disengages, holding on to the high ground. And we all learned from the Star Wars prequels, the high ground is very important.
Yeah, and that he kind of needs that too, because Cyan does have the better upgrades. He's making use of his window here. The armies are otherwise very even. So on paper, Cyan should take the better exchange here. The Disruptor's on a factor yet. He's moving
Oh my god!
He leaps straight on top of it, gets the Immortals right away. The Immortals with Cyan alive and well as he starts to punish here. Still a good Stalker count for Jieshi though, and he does have that defender's advantage. He's got a cannon, he's got a shield battery to fall back to as well. But is he actually going to be able to close the distance here before that +2 finishes and the Disruptors start to get in?
That was Vibranium cojones for that blink from Cyan. Right on top of the Immortals into the pack of Stalkers. I mean, maybe he clicked on them and he saw that his upgrades were better, and he's just like, here we go. I'm going to trade well here. Blink, not quite good enough to mitigate all damage. He does have a depth in the natural, but they're not target firing the probes. Now they are. I missed maybe one probe kill there. Definitely missed another one. Going in forward, but can't quite pick off the disruptor. Good scoop with the sentries. He does pick it off at the end.
Yeah, very nicely done. And Jieshi's held on valiantly here. I'm not sure that Cyan can get in here anymore. We'll see if he goes home or if he's just repositioning. He's going to lose the prism. So now he can't reinforce. So
yeah, that actually might cause Cyan to go home here. Like, he can't reinforce this position, and Jieshi has pylons everywhere to reinforce from. I can't believe he's done this. This blink forward. And he gets away with it too. This is madness to me. How do you make this call in a professional PvP? That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, the threat is nice though, even if he's not committing to a big fight right here, because Cyan got himself a 4th base up and running behind this. He hasn't gone into disruptors or anything at the moment. He's going to have the +3 in a second though, so that's going to help out a lot. But to be fair, he eliminated all the disruptors, but he needs to be careful. He can't lose too much here.
Yeah, Blink's back out of range of the disruptor, thankfully, but Jieshi actually got the target fire on those immortals and took them down. So both players are basically very similar to Taiwan PvP, extremely heavy on the stalkers. And also very similar to, you know, when Nice and Haas faced each other in Taiwan. One player is opting to go for the disruptor blink, and the other player is opting to go for a huge swell of zealots. You see that Cyan's banking quite a few minerals right now. He's waiting to print a lot of charge lots. And when he has those charge lots, he can win the battle against the stalkers. But the disruptors still are something he doesn't have a convincing answer for. And lovely pick up there in the prism. Jieshi finding an opening in the armor here of Cyan. Using the disruptors to zone. He's got this Nexus under pressure. Oh my god, there's blink forward. Cyan getting rid of the disruptors. Now it's stalker on stalker action.
Ooh, I think Jieshi has a bit of a better spread here. Cyan stalkers are struggling to get into fight here. A little bit, 12 probes going down. And he's just got such a nice line of fire there, does Jieshi. And Cyan is blinking his heart out there. Both of them are, and I'm honestly having a little bit of trouble understanding who's coming out on top here.
I think Jieshi's coming out on top. He's just got a lot more units at the moment. The army supply definitely in his favor. There is +3 attack for Cyan. He still has this pylon to warp in, but if that pylon gets picked off, there's actually no warp hits anymore for Cyan. Jieshi could probably pick it off, but he's definitely concerned about fighting and killing units right now, letting his disruptor sit at the back of the pack, firing off those novas. A big blink forward from Cyan. Desperation to pick off that disruptor. He does get it, but there's still so many stalkers left over. Are the zealots enough to get rid of these stalkers? Can they make the difference in this battle? The answer looks like is maybe no. There's a lot coming in from Jieshi.
Yeah, Cyan is microing pretty hard here to keep everything alive. He's just got that little bit less than Jieshi left over. And also he has to worry about the disruptors as they roll in. So he is actually going to lose that 3rd base after losing quite the number of probes there as well. And this has been pretty nice timing from Jieshi, like attacking in with an upgrade disadvantage, but making the best of the situation there with the terrain and where the Nexus was positioned. Cyan put in a pretty difficult spot here. Now, can he actually catch up in these units?
It's starting to snowball though. Like Jieshi is shooting further and further ahead in supply, and every unit killed is a problem for Cyan. He doesn't have a whole lot of money in the bank anymore. Jieshi's actually floating money right now. He's missing production. There we go. 7 stalkers on their way. And weirdly enough, Jieshi's also been reinforcing this attack. The only reason why Cyan isn't dead right now is Jieshi doesn't have a prism. If he had a prism, because he's been making disruptors non-stop off one robo, if he had a prism over here, he wouldn't be warping in the extra 14 army supply from the 3rd Nexus and walking it on over here. But it looks like, yeah, this is just too much. I don't think Cyan's going to hold for too much longer.
Yeah, I mean, he's making use of the shield batteries, but like you said, even with the slow reinforcement from Jieshi, I mean, he's getting a little bit out of control here. The army supply, yeah, that'll do it. GG Jieshi.
GG Jieshi. Yeah, it takes game number 1. Well played. That was just one of those games where it was extremely quiet and then eventually just went from 0 to 100. Like, they just, as soon as they decided to attack, it's actually Cyan that decided to pull the trigger first. It was just like, you know, 2 ravenous hounds, like junkyard dogs, just tearing each other apart nonstop. Which was great. It was really, really fun. I love Blink Disruptor. That's my favorite kind of army relationship in PvP. I really like seeing those units interact with each other. But I think that's one of those games where Jieshi was behind in pretty much every regard except for economy. And, you know, his army wasn't as big. It wasn't as well upgraded. but he had the advantage of the disruptor, and the disruptor really does. The disruptor can make up for like a 20-30 supply discrepancy. It's just such a good unit when it gets the job done. And even though the disruptor novas weren't super juicy, you know, we weren't seeing, you know, six stalkers explode with every disruptor. They do have the benefit of making you burn a blink and also moving away, which gives your stalkers free reign to take a few extra shots. Now, anytime your opponent has to move your units away and they're moving and they're not shooting, that is time when your units are shooting. And that's, you know, also another disruptor advantage.
Yeah, I think that's really what the nail in the coffin was for Cyan, right? That attack at the third, he couldn't get in there. And Jieshi was able to take that position in part due to the fact that the disruptor shots had to be dodged there by Cyan. So yeah, I mean, that's really how PvP goes sometimes, though. You start losing workers, you take one bad fight, and you just can't quite catch up. But otherwise, you know, fairly solid first game.
Fairly solid indeed. And this fairly solid series will continue after the break. We'll see you then. G'day, StarCraft mates, and welcome back to the DreamHack Masters main event here for China. I'm Maynard, with me is Zeph, and we're in our first best of 3 of the evening with Jieshi, currently up 1-0 against Cyan. And I think that game 1 was pretty good fun, Zeph. It was like a little quiet, and then whoop, off it went.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to remember what the second map was. I feel like it might have been Jagannatha, in which case I'm kind of like, do we reverse it? Oh, it's Lightshade. Never mind. Introductions got me. I was thinking like if it was Jagannatha and then we had the reverse, so that's, you know, the map where they go super cheesy fast game. But yeah, Lightshade is the one, and I kind of expect just like another normal game from these guys. It seems like macro is how they like to play here.
I think if anyone's a bit more on the aggressive side, I'm like, you're going to be probably a little bit more aggressive on Lightshade, and you're definitely going to be more aggressive on Beckett. But Beckett was like the most stock standard, normal macro normie PvP ever.
Yeah.
And that means that I feel like the map I'm left here with assumptions. I'm like, oh, someone's going to get aggressive on Lightshade, because I don't think I've seen a PvP on Lightshade that wasn't a 4-gate, at least from one of the players. But it also could just be that 3 Nexus normie play again from Beckett.
It could be.
These guys just, they like to go there, at least in map 1. Let's have a look at map number 2, of course. New game, new strategies, question mark? From Good Game Gaming, this is Cyan.
And in the bottom right, he is leading 1-0 match point. This is Jieshi.
Yeah. Very much appreciate that Cyan is also in blue. Kills me when he's not.
Yeah, almost always is. I wonder if he's super picky about that too. You know how some players can get a little bit aggro if their colors taken.
Yeah, boy, that was a fun couple of years of StarCraft before admins were like, no, you're red and blue, and then, you know, obviously, you know, colorblind players would be different colors as well. But it was generally red and blue because players actually did get weird at the beginning of this esport. You wouldn't believe it, because we've been red and blue for a really, really long time here. But players have been weird and actually fought with admins in the past about their color. Isn't that insane? Be like, I want to be green, or I don't want to play this game if I'm not green. This player took pink and I'm pink.
Yeah.
$1 million esport, by the way, guys.
I don't know. It's just a thing that goes with sports, right? There's all kinds of superstitions and stuff, and people feel like,
you know, you got your lucky jock strap.
Yeah.
You got the, you know, you got your rabbit's foot.
Yeah.
There's footballers that think that it's lucky to not shower before the game.
Yeah, you got to seal in the flavor, man.
Oh, God. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit.
I don't like that. I want to leave.
Yeah. Is there a third caster that can sub in to...
All right, Insano, you're up.
Either replace me or Zeph. Just break up the pairing, please. Don't really care either way. We do have a pylon going down here just to box in that probe. He's stuck in here now and will live the rest of his life, very short life, in the main base of Cyan.
Yeah. So this one isn't quite as mirrored as last.
Oh, really though? Heimdall, the Bifrost. Oh no, he died. Oh.
Not quite able to do it. So Jieshi's actually opted for the Stalker out here, whereas Cyan, he's feeling adepts today. This is the move for Lightshade, so let's see how he goes with this. He's actually... What's this?
Was ist los? We have a we have a probe hidden up here in the very common proxy structure location. Hasn't pulled the trigger just yet. Oh, speaking of pulling the trigger, get that shield battery down. There we go. Snap decision there from Jieshi, and really, you know, you have to respect the 2 adepts, especially early game like this. They can absolutely ruin your economy.
They kill workers so fast. Let's see how many can he get one more?
Should be able to get 2 more, I think. Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
See, 2 adepts get in, and because it's such early game, you don't have enough units to just burn them down really quickly. 5 probes die, and now there is a 6-worker lead for Cyan. It's as simple as that. You got to close that front door, man. Respect the adept.
There is a 6-worker lead. However, Jieshi's gonna have 6 stalkers. I wonder, does he just? Yeah, I think he's gonna send those extra 2. So,
I mean, the Stalker is a better unit in stand-up fight against the Adept for sure. They are going to have the benefit of the shield battery soon, though, as much as Adepts kind of suck against Stalkers. they do okay, especially with the shield battery.
Jieshi's still going to come in here and see if he can get some revenge, though. Target down a couple workers. If he can get an adept, great. Keeping him busy if nothing else, but trying to get a couple more workers here. A little bit of a struggle to get in.
He's trying to box the Stalkers in here, which he does do. The Stalkers are killing a ton of probes right now, but the Adepts are going to at least punish Jieshi a little bit. Oh, and that's actually a lot of Adepts and not that many Stalkers. Jieshi may be realizing a little too late. He's like, oh, hang on. These things have the shade ability, and there's a lot more of them than I have Stalkers right now.
Yeah, they're hard on his heels there. And he actually opts for the recall, which honestly, yeah, probably the smarter move, because otherwise he would have lost all of them or had them very, very bruised. And that's a lot of units to defend against. Jieshi's actually going for Blink, so he's going to be sticking with the Stalkers, but Cyan has other plans as he comes in with this huge number of Adepts. Nice block there.
He's going for it. On top of that shield battery, which Jieshi needs to overcharge. There we go. But yeah, Cyan's going for it. Now he's going for the shield battery. Adepts kind of suck against Stalkers. They also kind of suck against buildings, but he's got so many that he's going to try and brute force this.
Does he have enough Adepts left over to make this happen, though? Yeah, no, it doesn't look like it. He's going to have maybe 4 left after this, trying to get whatever probes he can on the way out before he shades. Gets an extra couple. Don't think that was necessarily worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that looked really good on paper. I liked that he was intercepting the Stalkers on their way home and picking them up, but definitely, you know, losing 9 Adepts here. Very, very expensive, starting to make those trades not so worth here. Jieshi also is not walling off with a shield battery, walling off with a gateway, because there is not enough hit points on a shield battery or a pylon to stop that many Adepts. Those Adepts can just right-click on it and burn it down while it's building. So a gateway needs to be put here to respect the amount of Adepts that Cyan is showing to Jieshi right now. And meanwhile, the Invisible Man is being warped in for Cyan. So Cyan getting a little weird here, but there is an Observer about to pop for Jieshi.
Yeah. It's a really tight timing window. Now, with the Adepts, he could cause enough chaos to actually pick off a few extra workers, but he is sort of struggling to get proper damage in, and with the Stalkers here to defend, at the very least, the natural is fine. But now the Observer's out, they're not even going to make it in the front door. These DTs are going to be completely wasted. Yeah,
feels bad, man. Kind of seems like Jieshi's got a really good handle on this. Everything on paper looks good for him at the moment. Not going to call it until it's over, but Jieshi is looking to stabilize. He's down a little bit in workers, but a much bigger army. And with an Observer, I feel a more powerful army. Cyan's going to have to rely on things like, you know, defending with an Immortal, like an Immortal with the shield battery overcharge. I feel like can solo a ton of Stalkers by itself. It's very, very close to catching that proxy pylon, which has the Dark Shrine on it. Picking off the Dark Shrine is massive. Ooh.
No, don't do it.
Okay. Yep, lag. Fair enough. A fair pause there.
Understandable. He saw the probe too, as Insano showed us in that little bit of vision just as the Stalkers went past. So he sort of distracts up there a little bit, but I wonder if he will see it on the way back.
Looks like it was just a bit of a spike. We're evening out now. This usually does clear up, guys, so bear with us. Apologies.
It's part of the experience.
Yeah, man. Uh-oh. That feel when you try to unpause, but you're the one lagging? There it is. We're back.
Kudos to Insano, by the way, who has remembered where all the stuff is on the Chinese client.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, we're, you know, none of us are partially fluent even. So, in Mandarin or Cantonese. So we can't read the menu.
Nope.
It's got to know where the buttons are.
All right. Jieshi this time going to be the one being aggressive and expanding behind it. Cyan, how is he going to survive this? He does have the DTs in the mix. If he like snipes the Ubs, great. Otherwise, he can use that Archon power. He's going for the DT blink though, so he's really invested in this idea.
Yeah. I mean, they got to make something work here. Make lemonade with these lemons. The army supplies are getting a little bit closer. You know, those Immortals, their force supply cap are, well, force supply a unit are quite beastly, especially against the Stalkers, and especially again with the shield battery. It's a real heartbreaker that Jieshi didn't find this Dark Shrine, because these things are starting to rock his world back at home right now. In fact, falling causing a full recall here, a full pull-out from the Cyan side of the map.
A little suboptimal, but I'm not sure he would have actually been able to do anything on Cyan's side of the map, because it's not like he's out here taking a third or anything, and he's got quite a defended position. He's got the batteries, he's got immortals, you know, defender's advantage and all that. But he is going to look to put the pressure back on Jieshi. Now, Jieshi is trying to expand. He's got a little bit more surface area to work with here. Link for the DTs just finishing up too. So with 3 immortals in the mix, you do have to be a little bit careful with how you approach this if you're Jieshi.
For sure. And the Immortals really are a sticky situation here for Jieshi. It's making Cyan's army better. You know, Jieshi's army was better for a moment when it was Stalker against the Depth, and now it's just, you know, the turntables turn. Now the DT trying to get more damage done here, gets 7 probes. Does die, but considering it got 7, it's super worth.
Cyan creeping forward. He's got the Warp Prism. He keeps trickling in DTs as well. Jieshi doing okay so far, but there may yet be a big engagement for him. Here's so many sentries in there too. But here comes quite the DT drop. 4 of them right off the bat, and that is enough to slice rather quickly through the defenses. He jumps onto the cannon to get rid of that detection, but he's not actually able to do it, and he sees the DT shrine of Jieshi as well.
Yeah, he's got to recall those last 2 Invisible Men. The cannon held on just strongly enough there against those 4 DTs. And the Stalker warp in was also a nice little play there from Jieshi to block the surface area on those DTs, so they weren't doing quite as much damage. And this depth harassment from Jieshi, really ineffectual there, kind of falls to the wayside to Cyan's superior defenses. Now Jieshi's going to be like, well, you like prisms and DTs, huh? How about a little something on this side of the map? And it looks like Cyan's super ready for it, to be honest.
Yeah, that Warp Prism no longer for this world. An extra couple of Stalkers being warped in. One DT does get out there, and he's got another one here in the third, which gets cleaned up handily. Another Obs just popped out of that robe and helps him clean up the ones in the main. Clap. Only a couple of worker kills going, so not too bad. 3
workers for 3 DTs and a Prism. Not very good for Jieshi. Pretty good for Cyan.
Cyan does have the chunkier army, pretty even on the economy despite all the harassment that's been happening here. But yeah, I do fear for Jieshi a little bit. I mean, I did in the last game too, and he did a really nice attack, so it's not like he's down and out or anything. But I think one thing that might help him is that upgrade when that, because he's already 1 up and he's headed straight to +2, so that could make a difference for him when they do engage. But as it stands, it's almost like a little bit of a gentleman's agreement, right? They're just sort of sitting back, massing up, and only sending DTs at each other.
A little bit. I think it's a pretty good call from Jieshi to invest in a few Stalkers moving out on the map and get rid of this Dark Shrine. You know, that's less Invisible Men, that's also less Archons. See Cyan getting his last DTs or 2 in before the Shrine goes down, because it's absolutely going down. Bull tries to punish, goes for the Stalkers there. Jieshi gets 1, and it looks like he's starting to commit. Oh, I love the hallucinated disruptor. Imagine if that wasn't here. Maybe Cyan goes for one of those YOLO blinks like last game.
Did he bring the Obs with the army? I wonder if he caught on there. Nice scout from Jieshi. Sees Cyan posturing over here on the right side instead. Warp Prism here to reinforce as well.
He's going bowling.
He's looking for an angle. Ooh, that's a nice squad of DTs.
Nice little multitask here from Cyan, trying to hit with the DTs while the main army is poking at the front here. See, Jieshi's puffing up his feathers now. He's peacocking, trying to show him more disruptors than he actually has. And also, you know, the target fire from Cyan. He's getting the hallucinated ones. He's not getting the real one. Very smart.
Pretty good. But Cyan did well last game as well, just trying to pick those off and eliminate them from the fight. He seems quite confident in his ability to do that. He hasn't really demonstrated any need to go for them himself. And he's actually going to still keep up with that DT theme. He's remade the Shrine here, heading into his +2 attack upgrade as well.
I'm kind of expecting Cyan to start throwing into, you know, going to charge, maybe a few more Archons, but no, he's going to go for the Robo Bay. And I'm glad to see that, because his reaction in game 1 was not great, and I think he's got to learn that You know, if you're going to go up against Fleet Disruptor, you can brute force it with way more units, but if you don't have that huge army supply advantage, you really need to try and get your own disruptors. There's no better way to deal with disruptors than having your own. Gets a cancel on that 6 o'clock Nexus. Very nicely done.
Yeah. I suppose it is a case of if you can't beat him, join him. So he's going to need a little bit of time to get that tech up, though. I do like that he has that forward position trying to be aggressive because it keeps Jieshi off his back, even if he's not fully committing to an attack here. But Jieshi himself may decide in not too long that it's time to put some pressure back on Cyan, because he hasn't really been across the map too many times. He's kind of just let Cyan come to him, which is a little bit off brand because we're used to seeing Jieshi be perhaps a slightly more aggressive one, but just a couple of skirmishes here and there. They haven't committed to a big one just yet. Could this be the moment? Going up a ramp is a bit rough.
It is a little bit. Does at least have the observer now to see what's happening on the higher ground. The vision advantage is massive with things like disruptors. Like if you have an oracle or observer vision or something like that, to be able to see where the army is moving, you can get some incredible connections with your disruptors. And Cyan is just trying to use the lack of information here to poke at 6 o'clock. But this is going to turn into, you know, he has to recall all of this if he wants to try and hold his national. Oh, Disruptor Nova coming in. Jieshi getting punished a little bit for that early blink.
I like this a little bit more for Jieshi though. Cyan's only just whacking a base that's down, you know, the 4th base a little bit further out. Jieshi's kind of more in the thick of things. He's right next to the main. He's between the 2 bases. He's got a little bit more to work with. Is he actually going to split his army like this? That's a little dangerous. He's going to meet Cyan's army in the middle here.
Yeah, and Cyan seems to have a lot more in the middle. Disruptor Nova's coming in, but still a lot more Stalkers for Cyan and the Immortals as well. Oh, some more coming in from Jieshi from downtown. Some of the recall units coming on in with the observers as well. Some disruptors being misrallied to the north side. Oh, Cyan going for it. Oh my god, the disruption Novas. Really good connections there. And that was just one of those like, oh yeah, I've rallied units out. Like it was a mistake from Cyan to have these units rally out here. I can promise you that. But they ended up getting insane connections. And Cyan looking really good now in the supply. Huge lead for him.
I actually really liked how Jieshi up until that point. He had that army is picking off units, but that forward link didn't work out, did it? 1-1 is now the score.
Certainly is 1-1, and we're having some fun here. We've got ourselves a series, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go into game 3 to see who, if it's Jieshi or Cyan, going into the winners match for Group A here. Really great start. Very, very closely matched, clearly, in these games. Game 1 and Game 2 have been very neck and neck. Game 2, even more action-packed than Game 1, which kind of just, you know, it was like no rush 20 until they decided to attack, and then it was just nothing but unit production. This is yeah, a little bit more back and forth, some tech switches, some harassment, some backstabs, everything you want.
Yeah, and the winner of this match does go up against the winner of the match that was happening on the B stream, just as a reminder, and that was time, but it wasn't a clean win, so keep an eye on that as we watch what happened in the last game here. And this game was really all about DTs until that last battle, hey?
Yeah, the DTs were kind of not convincing at the start, but then when stuff started to get hectic, as is tradition for the Dark Templar, when you're not thinking about them, that's when they get amongst it. That's when they start fighting some real good damage.
Yeah.
And these disruptions coming in from this rally from Cyan, he's like, oh, what? Oh, my disruptors. There they are. Quick fire. And boy, did they fire.
Until that point, like with the force fields, and he had a good spread. He'd positioned himself well. It looked pretty decent for him because it's just shaving off units from Cyan's army and taking it a chunk at a time. He was so close to having +2 there as well, but hey, that's disruptors for you guys. I mean, that's all it takes to lose the game. You just can't catch up from that point. So yes, it tends to be pretty tame until the first big clash, because it's like the first and only big clash in the game between these two.
I feel like both players were no player was clearly losing the game until those disruption novas kicked in, and kind of a similar story to game 1. If you want to really just sort of narrow it down to a big moment, it's that the disruptor kind of decided that game a little bit as well, but in Jieshi's favor because he had them and Cyan did not. And you know, the respect that is demanded by the disruptor is the reason why Cyan lost that game on Beckett. So yeah, disruptors, good unit.
Yeah, who'd have thunk it? Turns out
Not
they're
me.
pretty good at blowing stuff up. Even if you're behind, I mean, it's the comeback mechanic, right? So, yeah, he took a risk. It did not pay off. And that means we're going to our third and final map to see who comes out on top. Pretty exciting.
It is pretty exciting. I agree. In the top right side here, it's like we are going to Jagannatha. This is from Good Game Gaming, Cyan.
And his opponent in the bottom left, spawning in the red, he is Jieshi.
Both players incredibly closely matched. Both of them have been in the top 4 before. Both of them have been finalists before. And both of them lost to time. As is tradition here for the Chinese main event for DreamHack. And that's kind of the story for me for this season and every season. Is like, is time going to be dethroned?
Yeah, I think, well, interestingly enough, right, so that game that was happening on the B stream, Time vs. Rewhite, which we didn't pick because we were like, you know, like this one might be a bit of a closer match, this mirror. Rewhite actually took a map, and Rewhite's not someone that we've even seen in the top 8, so that is a little bit surprising. So there's always a chance that an upset can occur, and I think that sort of proves the point. But the key is, like, how can you, in my mind at least, how can you throw Time such a big curveball that he's just straight up not able to catch it, because he's so good normally.
You want to hear about that curveball, Zeph?
I do. Tell me about it.
An in-base proxy gateway on Lightshade was how Rewhite got the video game against Time. Yeah.
Now that's sick, honestly. Like, if you manage to get the win, but you have to do that twice. That's kind of the problem against Time. You know, doesn't matter what the format is. Best 3, best of 5.
I agree. Like, that's the problem when you get into these tournaments. Is it's a series. It's not just a map. Like, everyone in this top 8 can take a map off Time. Everyone can do that. But can you take a series off Time? Especially when we start to get into the best of 5s, and especially when you get to the best of 7. Like, winning at least 4 of those games in a 7-game period against Time, that's tough.
Yeah, especially when he's like sitting there with a winner's advantage too.
Well, usually, yeah. He has lost series before in China. It's happened before, but it is few and far between. He's an absolute monster. In fact, 2 seasons in a row, Times made it to the season finals and actually made top 8 as well as gotten out of groups. In fact, he topped his group last season, I think.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, he's
Times
an
games
absolute monster.
From this most recent EPT, like the big event.
It was a Time Dark, I think it was.
Yeah, amazing.
Dude,
so sick. Go watch the VODs of that if you haven't seen it. If you don't know about Time, if you don't know how good he is.
Salivating over those games, man. Yeah. Stargate being proxied here by Cyan, but spotted by Jieshi. Oh, not good.
Not the optimal outcome, to be sure. Cyan moving across the map with a squad of adepts, but guess what? So is Jieshi.
Yeah, certainly. Jieshi really respecting the adept count here from Cyan. Cyan loves these adepts. It's going a little bit heavier on the production here on the adept than you would normally have. It's not uncommon to have them in PvP, of course, but... Oh, no, that probe's like, oh, it's free. I'm fine to get the shield battery right now, right?
Oh, no. All right,
luckily, the recall's going to mitigate it. Nice.
Does he shade back in? No, he doesn't. All right, I was going to say that would be quite a bold move, but... yeah, he's going to keep those for now. That Stargate has been depowered. We have
another one, though.
On the way to growth.
She's got a Martha Stewart Stargate, one that he prepared earlier in the main base. Thinking an Oracle right now. Now the Adepts are finding some damage here. No shield battery in the mineral line from Cyan, but you know, he probably thinks, oh, I've killed the proxy Stargate, so there's no way there's an Oracle right now. Probably what he thinks. He's wrong. Uh-oh.
Building some suspense here.
Insano, please. Gonna dock your pay, mate. We're gonna sorry guys, we're gonna take the observer's pay packet and we're gonna use it to fund starving internet service providers. The true victims. Yeah, the Adept's getting annihilated here by these Oracles. Jieshi is finding some damage. Main base already has that shield battery, so a lovely pick off there.
Yep. Nice try, but not today. And he's actually produced a Phoenix here as well, on top of the couple of Oracles. So he's going to be able to hunt that down, which sucks for Cyan. That's his vision. That's his scouting. It's a bit of his harassment too. And I wonder, because you did mention he doesn't have shield batteries of his own at home, if Jieshi's going to be able to capitalize on that. As it stands, Cyan's trying to pick up some extra kills with the Adepts, which he has had pretty good success with so far in the series. But at the same time, he has to defend against these Oracles.
It looks like he's going to get one there. The other one trying to thread the needle on their Stalkers, which he manages to do. Gets out of there alive. A good bit of worker harassment with these Stargate units from both players. I think that obviously Jieshi's has gone a little bit better, but he's also invested more in Stargate, so it needs to do a little bit better. He's up a handful of workers, which is great, but right now, you know, Jieshi is spending time and money building things like Phoenixes, building Oracles and that sort of thing. And these things, they're not great in a stand-up fight, but they can do things like lift up an Immortal or two, take a unit or two out of the army that are like critical, and that sort of thing, but they're not amazing fighting units.
Looks like we're in a similar situation here where both of them have taken their foot off the gas. We're concentrating on getting that tech up and looking towards the third base. Jieshi, again, opting for that earlier third base, and he's going to power up the tech from there, getting that Twilight and Forge in the background. It seems that Cyan often comes into those upgrades a little bit sooner at the cost of the third. But Jieshi's been able to play it quite well regardless.
Yeah. Blink being the call here from Cyan, so as a direct response to Stargate, no doubt, but also just a good thing to have in PvP in general. More and more Phoenixes coming out from Jieshi too, so he really wants to harass a little bit more. And again, the Phoenix can be useful in the actual attack to lift up those Immortals, to take Disruptors out of the fight as well later on, if you have the Phoenix later on.
I mean, if you're brave enough, you can even dive in when it's Blink versus Blink, because you just eliminate a whole bunch of Stalkers from that fight to take the numbers advantage. It can be pretty dicey to do that though, because, well, your opponent has Blink Stalkers, don't they? So always a risk, but he's going to try and find some probes in the meantime. Having a little bit of trouble getting too much damage, much like Cyan. The batteries really put a stop to a lot of that.
Yeah, I certainly do. If you get enough, then the battery doesn't really help that much, because you can one-shot stuff, but, you know, is what it is. We do have, I like this, Charge and also Templar Archives coming down. No one's been a Charge Lot Archon boy in this series just yet, but now they are going towards it. It's been Blink, Stalkers, Disruptors, and now a mixturing of Stargate units into Charge Archon, which it looks like Cyan is going to be on the later end of. He's not going to have the access to the Archons quickly, but Jieshi is. And Archons, I mean, they have such an incredible role against Charge Lots. They really annihilate Charge Lots, so they're hard counter to them. There's Blink into the main base from Cyan. Oh, we might be able to get some damage on the soft underbelly of Jieshi here.
For sure. I mean, all that tech is great, but it's not going to be here for a little while, and Cyan's rocking up and just sniping pylons left, right, and center. He's actually going to go for the Templar Archives as well, and he should be able to get that without too much problem, because Jieshi having a little bit of a hard time muscling through his own Sin City here. Cyan's going to drop down to the low ground once again and start targeting down whatever he can here. Gets 3-4 workers.
Yeah, a little bit of damage, also picking off a little bit of the, you know, the pylons, depowering some of the production, but does need to get out. So we're going to recall these units, and yes, you can recall things that are lifted up by Phoenixes, so they are going home. The probe damage is still happening though. The Adepts shading over to the third base, getting a little bit more done before Jieshi has actually cleared the field of Cyan on his side of the map. And yeah, like the Templar Archives has just now started for Jieshi, but I'm a little bit concerned that by the time +2 is done, Cyan might have a couple Archons and a handful of Charge Lots, and Jieshi may not. There's a potential for a big tech advantage for Cyan in the next few seconds.
Yeah, I think that was actually like the most effective attack Cyan's been able to mount against Jieshi so far in this series. Getting in, disrupting the production, the upgrades. Because he has actually taken an upgrade lead here, and now that's extended because the upgrade is finishing a bit later. So getting to the tech first is always handy. It gives you a little bit more control. Jieshi's not exactly going to be brave enough to be marching on a map like this if his tech is a little bit behind. So Cyan needs to be careful not to get too fresh here, though. There's still decent forces here for Jieshi, but he's trying to snipe what he can.
He's also not made Archons or Charge Lots, really. It's just been about his Stalkers sharking around and looking for angles. Is Cyan getting a second Templar Archives? Oh, did he cancel it? And he's starting it again. Okay. He definitely started one earlier. I know I saw it. I'm not crazy. So I think he started it, canceled it, and started it again. Insano nodding. Thank you. These Charge Lots are just a massive boon when you're up against... Like, Blink Stalkers become a liability when you have a lot of Charge Lots. Like, look what they're doing right now. Blink Back's going to save you for a few seconds, but they're going to hack and slash. They're going to rip and tear Zeph.
Until it is done.
Correct.
This is what I mean by like going a little bit too deep, getting a little bit too fresh. It's like, you can't do this forever. He is actually going to be able to capitalize on some of your mistakes here. But he's done pretty well with the Stalker Ball. I think he's been decently efficient, and he's got some stuff at home should he need to defend, heading towards that fourth base. And continuing to get that tech in the mix. And now is the time when we start to see him finally add some Templar in to morph those Archons.
Oh, man. The supply is quite good for Cyan, but I got to say that this Immortal count, the Charge Lot head start, getting me a little heckin' concerned for Cyan. He does have the better upgrades, though, so that's nice. And when +1 armor's done, you know, that's definitely not nothing. That's something that's going to help the Charge Lots out a lot, specifically.
Cyan really does sit on the Stalkers for a long time, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's very similar to a couple Taiwanese players in that regard, that like heavy Stalker counts.
I mean, especially when you see the army walking across the map like that, like,
yeah,
that is a very technical army from Jieshi. The Stalkers are over here on the opposite side of the map cleaning up Charge Lots. I do wonder what this would look like if Jieshi just walks in.
A heckin' Immortal count. There's 15 Stalkers here for Cyan, another 9 Charge Lots as well, but those like half a dozen Immortals kind of remove the extra like 6 or so Stalkers from Cyan's army. It does not matter if you have a Stalker advantage when there's that many Immortals. This is going to blink into the main base again. A repeat of an earlier move from Cyan. Seems like Jieshi's a lot more on the money. In fact, you might be able to catch him on the blink down. If he blinks down, he's in big trouble. Oh, got him!
Dude, the amount of damage they do is actually insane. And
yeah, look at those kills, damn. Welcome to pain. Says Jieshi to catch them that blink down.
Yeah. Well, looks like this is the point of the game where Cyan finally looks to round out his tech. He wants to go the DTs again. Fair enough. He has got the disruptors coming into the mix as well. So while Jieshi's army was looking a lot better, he didn't really use it. Nice catch in the prism.
Yeah, I mean, it's 12 minutes in. It's like, honestly, the Dark Shrine could have happened a minute ago. It's very, very normal to get. They've been so focused about, well, Cyan specifically been so focused about running around with Stalkers. A lot of his army is actually getting separated from his Charge Lots here. So his Charge Lots are absolutely doing an amazing job in bottom right. But the important part of his army, the Archons, the cost units, the expensive units in the middle of his army are actually getting picked apart. Oh, I love this Prism in the main, though. Jieshi is going to have to commit with a counterattack if he wants to make this, like, not a complete disaster, I think.
Shield battering cannons in the main should help stymie the flow of Zealots a little bit, but... Alright, that bottom right-hand base goes down. The main is still in a lot of danger. But likewise, I don't think Cyan can hold on to this base either. Oh, the Disruptor's not quite able to make a huge difference yet. There's just so much beef on that front line from Jieshi. Approximately 1 million Immortals just shredding this up.
Yeah, they are. And the ones with Hardened Shield can... well, actually, they can all tank a Disruption Nova. So the Disruptors will take a little bit to chew through that army, and he definitely doesn't want to get too close to them with the Archons. The Immortals are quite nice against those units. And these DTs of Cyan are just amazing here. The Charge Lots got through a lot of those probes. Jieshi down to 35, and the DTs finish off the main Nexus. More Charge Lots coming in at the third Nexus. Jieshi in a ton of trouble right now.
This multi-pronged Cyan has really been the kicker here. He's done a fantastic job getting 10 worker kills, but getting 2 Nexuses as well. And you can almost bet that he's going to try that again. I mean, in fact, it looks like he wants to try and take advantage of the moment. He's going to head out, bunch of Disruptors and Archons in the mix, and see if he can't get some more damage done. The Warp Prism's going to come back in again here too. And Jieshi might find himself stretched a little thin despite having less Nexuses to worry about. He's still got to defend his tech. And Cyan is going to plunge in on the right-hand side here, start heating things up.
I'm not a fan that Cyan blew all of those disruptors at once. I like to, you know, go one at a time here with those disruptors, because now we don't have all those extra charges, which would have been really great for securing the retreat here. The disruptors are a slower unit compared to the Archons and the Stalkers. Oh man,
It's so dangerous.
So many mortals. Oh boy.
I think he realized it too, because he blew them all up and he was like, yeah, I better leave.
Yeah.
He's losing a lot here. A couple more did just pop out. He's producing them 2 at a time. He's coming in to try and on top of this army, and I think that's it for Jieshi, man.
I think so.
Only Immortals left. He's attacking into a fortified position. His base is in tatters in the main. I'm crazy, mate. I don't think Jieshi has enough GG.
That's right, yeah. I mean, the Immortals are fantastic, and he's got +3 attack on them, and they are hitting super